is the fusion factor.
Hello, my name is Justin Oldham, and I am the author of Showdown at the Kodiak Starport. For those of you who are familiar with my previous work, I just want to say thanks for the friendly email. And for those of you who don't know, this is the second of two Kodiak Starport novels. The first one is Crisis at the Kodiak Starport. You can find some commentary about that here on this YouTube channel, or you can look it up on Amazon.com to see if you're interested. Showdown is the second book that takes place in this fictional Starport universe. It is basically a look at the future of what the aerospace industry might be here in Alaska. But I would just like to put you at ease right off the bat. You don't actually have to read Crisis before you get to Showdown. Each of these novels is a standalone story, and while they do relate to each other, you could take them as a single individual moments or slices in time if you prefer. I've always been fascinated by the Starport concept. As you may know, those of you historians out there, science fiction writers have been using this kind of theme ever since the 1940s, when we understood that rockets were possible and that it would give us the eventual technology to go to the moon. Early science fiction writers began to basically take the coastal naval shipping port concept and develop it into the starport or the spaceport. And those of you with the search engine handy, if you look up the Alaska Aerospace Development Corporation, you will find that they refer to their installation as the Kodiak Spaceport. I chose to use Starport just to disambiguate myself from that because I'm not actually sure they know who I am. In the meantime, I would just like to say that for those of you fans of military fiction, yes, there are military contractors here, there are security forces, and there are official state actors, because you've got the armies, the navies, the air forces of various countries involved in all this. But part of what I think sets this apart from other kinds of fiction of its type is I've tried to make this a lot more human-oriented, a lot more character-driven than just story-driven. Without giving away any of the story elements, I can say that Crisis at the Kodiak Starport involved the use of space-based weapons to deal with capital ships on the surface of the ocean. That was a concept I've been wanting to explore for quite some time, ever since President Reagan brought up the concept of SDI in the 1980s. Part of what makes Showdown different is that while there are still strategic naval assets involved, this time I've focused my interest on what you can think of as military aerospace aircraft. And the idea of military space shuttles has been around for quite some time, and the idea of space fighters has been explored in books, movies, and television. But I'm interested in what the future applications of this can be beyond my lifetime. They aren't quite the stuff of Star Wars and Buck Rogers, but they could be close. Now, some of you have already picked up on the fact that the short stories in the anthology, Tales from the Kodiak Starport, and then the first novel, Crisis at the Kodiak Starport, bear some resemblance to past fiction that has portrayed the people who work at different airports around the world, and that really is not by accident. I was a fan of Arthur Haley's 1968 novel Airport, which I believe in 1970 was made into a feature film, and among other things, you get to see people like Dean Martin playing the role of an international airline pilot. And in its day, that was a big deal. The idea that you could get on a 747 and go just about anywhere in the world was at one point in time a new concept. Well, now today we live in a world where the International Space Station orbits over our heads all the time. America is looking for its replacement to the space shuttle, and we now have quite a few private sector companies like SpaceX, Blue Origin, Bigelow Aerospace, etc., that are all in the process of developing civilian space travel. As I wrap up here, I would just like to take a moment to say thanks for listening to this. If you're interested in finding out more, you can look up my website at justinoldham.com, find my work on Amazon, or leave a note here on YouTube. Thanks very much for your time, and have a good day.
You've been listening to The Fusion Factor, brought to you by Shadow Fusion Books. Find us online at shadowfusionbooks.com.